Welcome to TriMet 101. Today we're going to be talking about TV Highway and about its future. For anyone who knows me fairly well knows that I used to live right off of TV Highway and 44th Avenue in a set of apartments. I lived here for around 16 years, so I became very familiar with this area and about TV Highway's problems. And I am very glad to see that they are finally being addressed. Firstly, what is the TV Highway Project? Well, it's a project that aims to improve the safety for everybody. It's quite dangerous if you're outside a car. Well, I mean, it's pretty dangerous if you're in a car, too. There are sidewalks that are missing on one half of this corridor, and sometimes there's no sidewalks at all. This is right by where I used to live. This is just a painted bicycle lane thing on both sides of the street. Nobody wants to use that. You don't see people walking or biking this. Actually, occasionally you will see people walking it, and it is very, very dangerous. So if these people are crazy enough to walk this, it means that if you actually fix TV Highway to be a safe, less terrible space, more people will walk it. Let's get familiar with what TV Highway is and what's so crucial to fixing it. If you are already familiar with the word STROAD, you're already a step ahead, but I'm going to briefly explain it. A STROAD is a combination of the words street and road. And if you think those are one and the same thing, well, there's a little bit of a difference. A road is a place for vehicles. It's a place for the fast movement of vehicles in an efficient manner. The corridor is usually pretty long and pretty straight and has very few points of conflict. There might be exit ramps or occasional turnoffs and things. Those are your conflict points, but they're far and few between. And that is a road. You can sort of think of it like a railroad. Railroads are pretty much the same thing. A long, straight corridor, few points of conflict. It's just meant for the efficient movement of goods and services, and people. A street is much more condensed together. Lots of people are around. It is an environment that is all-inclusive to all modes. There will be lots of traffic lights and intersections, driveways, and potential points of conflicts, so the street's speed limits must be lower than a road's speed limits. The combination STROAD is the worst of both worlds. Fast-moving cars with lots of conflict points and lots of traffic lights? Check. Weak attempts at trying to be all-inclusive for other modes like walking or biking? Very dangerously? Check. Crosswalks that are way too far apart, forcing people to walk a ton or very dangerously jaywalk across this crazy thing? Check. So, what do? FX. A new bus rapid transit service through this corridor would help out a lot. Imagine sidewalks on both sides of TV Highway for the entire corridor. Sounds like wishful thinking, right? But it is included as elements of this project. Having biking infrastructure that's more separated from the fast-moving vehicles would also help increase safety for those biking. The buses would be longer and would take people to their destinations faster. Not because they're physically driving faster, but because of things like having larger stop spacing or having traffic signal priority on all of the intersections that desperately need it and have terrible congestion. Murray. Buses, actually transit in general, deserve these sort of signal priority treatments because they're a more effective way to use space to transport people to their destinations. They're just more space efficient. Cars are incredibly space inefficient. If you're interested in this whole TV Highway Transit project, I will leave a link in the description below if you'd like to check it out for yourself. I'd like to mention stations and alternatives. So there are a few alternatives that could be selected. Do we put FX on the whole corridor, Beaverton to Forest Grove? Do we just do the chunk from Beaverton Transit Center to Hillsborough Transit Center? Well, the decision has been made. The entire corridor would get FX. Hillsborough to Beaverton needs it really bad, but the entire corridor does need improvement, so I'm very excited to see that. And I imagine the stations and shelters would look a lot like the FX2 ones. Two ones? Anyways, we also have a draft station locations map, which I will show you here. Very cool to see that. You can pause if you want to see if your local station is on there, if you travel on TV Highway a lot. Back in 2022, I made a video, which I will link here, introducing that this project was a thing. And in that video, I made a list of stations that I would put the actual FX buses at for TV Highway. I didn't base it off of anything. Housing density, employment, disadvantaged. I didn't base it on anything. It was just entirely where I think good stop spacing would be and the major intersections, and that was kind of it. However, my stations that I had on there aren't too dissimilar to the ones that they propose for this map. The general idea is less stations equals more speed, more faster. But we can analyze this further. Remember where I said I used to live? That was at TV Highway and 44th. Well, that has thankfully been kept on here. But right now, this intersection is incredibly dangerous because it's not an intersection. It's just a simple zebra crosswalk. And that's it. So, of course, this project will probably have to improve that crosswalk. It's already been improved since I was living there, because it used to be you would push a button and then these little blinking lights would turn on for about a minute or so, and you just have to hope and pray that people stop for you. People have absolutely died at this intersection, and it is totally inexcusable why they haven't actually addressed that. So now you push the button and there's little strobing lights instead, and that's really the only difference. I imagine just having a regular old traffic light here that's just always green, so it's pretty much just the same thing, except when a pedestrian pushes the button, it would turn the light red, and then a walk sign would turn on saying that pedestrians are okay to go, and then after, say, 30 or 40 seconds, the pedestrian walk signal thing times out, and the traffic light turns green again. Don't even get me started on hawk signals. Those are an absolute waste of money. What I just described there, having just a regular old green traffic light at a crosswalk, and just push the button to change the crosswalk thing so the pedestrians can use it, that makes way more sense. Because a hawk signal already is about the same amount of money as a traffic light, it's really stupid, so just don't do anything stupid. A traffic light is something we already know how to interpret. If the light's turning red, you stop and you see the pedestrians crossing the crosswalk. Anyways, I'd like to talk about another stop on here. Both my version of the stops and the draft map on here have a stop at 192nd Avenue. And this falls between two pretty major intersections, one at 185th and one at 198th. And right now, there is no crosswalk here at all. And I imagine a similar treatment would be placed here. There would be an actual crosswalk, but the light would pretty much always stay green until a pedestrian pushes the walk sign button, turning the light red and allowing people to actually cross through the crosswalk. And for things like this, a certain delay timer could be added so that, like, let's say you're done walking across the street and the light just turned back green again and you push the button, it wouldn't just immediately turn the light red again, holding up traffic, including the buses, for even longer. So there might be some sort of delay time of maybe 30 seconds or more, to where after the walk sign actually times out and it just shows you the hand and TV Highway's light turns green again, you might have to wait 30 seconds before it'll actually change the light to allow pedestrians to cross. Last thing I'll talk about does not relate to TV Highway itself, but rather what lies next to it. The train tracks. These are Portland and Western tracks that carry a few freight trains each day. Well, why would we need to do this FX project if we could just instead do some of these improvements here and there, but maybe extend the West train from Beaverton Transit Center to Forest Grove along the TV Highway corridor? You could do this, but it sort of ignores the fact that we need bus upgrades, and we need them now, and a lot of other safety improvements that need to happen first. I definitely think the FX buses should be built first before we even start talking about passenger trains along TV Highway. TV Highway has a lot of destinations, and it carries pretty high ridership. And so you're definitely going to need a lot of stops along the FX corridor rather than super express style service that the West operates. So I would say definitely we need to build FX first with the local stop spacing, and then having some sort of express corridor with the West along those tracks. That might be an excellent idea for the future. And so there might only be a few stops at Beaverton Transit Center, maybe Murray or 185th, or, you could have them really far apart, even further than that maybe, and that would get people to certain destinations much quicker. But that totally ignores all the in-between destinations. TV Highway as a corridor needs lots of improvements. So definitely build that first, and then if we want to look into a new West line from Beaverton Transit Center to Forest Grove, for example, then we could do that later. It would sort of duplicate the service, but I've made a video already, which I will link here, on why that's not such a terrible idea sometimes. Something cool that some of you might know and some of you might not know is that these tracks along TV Highway actually had passenger trains on them a century ago. Southern Pacific ran what was sometimes known as the Red Electrics, because they were bright red, on this entire corridor with about 10 daily round trips, which is pretty cool. So it's not a bad idea to look into having passenger rail service here eventually. It's far enough away from the MAX, which, funny enough, also used to be an old rail line. That was the Oregon Electric line. But, again, that might be a little further off. FX should definitely happen first. This video turned out to be a little longer than I was expecting, but if you want to know more information and timelines and what's been in recent meetings and other documents and all other information, I've left a link in the description to the Oregon Metro page for the TV Highway project. If you'd like to check that out for yourself, I highly recommend reading it. But anyways, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.